Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Mindanao lawyers asked the Supreme Court to throw out the impeachment case versus Vice President Sara Duterte.
Most of the invited social media personalities once again failed to show up at the House Tri-Committee hearing. As a result, nearly a dozen of them have been subpoenaed.
CIDG Chief Nicolas Torre III denies receiving orders to file complaints against former President Rodrigo Duterte. He says that the decision was made independently, without direction from the Senate or Malacanang.
And the LRT-1 announced a fare hike starting April. Magkano naman kaya yan?
Duterte allies have filed a petition to block the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Here's the report.
Allies of the Duterte family have filed a petition before the Supreme Court to halt the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Among their petitioners are lawyers Israelito Torion, legal counsel of detained Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, and Martin Delga, former LTFRB chief under Rodrigo Duterte's administration. They have requested the Supreme Court to issue a temporary restraining order and the writ of preliminary injunction to block the Senate from moving forward with the impeachment trial. Torion argued that the articles of impeachment filed against the Vice President are defective. He added that they failed to meet the constitutional requirements for verification and proper initiation of impeachment proceedings.
Kung tinama nila yung ginawa sa House, sang-ayon sa saligang batas, wala po kami rito, hindi kami magpa-file. Talagang nakita nyo naman siguro, ni railroad yung proceeding. There was no debate, there was no deliberation. It was just introduced and voted upon.
In response, one Rider Party List Congressman Rog Gutierrez maintained that there was nothing unconstitutional about the impeachment.
Naniniwala po kami na kompleto po yung aming articles of impeachment, including the process in which it was transmitted to the Senate. Ayon po sa ating saligang batas, yung Constitution, nandun naman po yung mode. So I'm not sure po kung anong basis na sinasabi na flawed yung impeachment po.
For now, the Supreme Court has ordered the Senate to comment on a petition for mandamus, which seeks to initiate the impeachment trial without delay. Mobile journalist Marymon Reyes, we are One News.
Meanwhile, senators are still divided if the upper chamber should now act on the impeachment complaint. Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel called on Senate President Chis Escudero to begin the trial, saying it is the Senate's constitutional mandate to do so. Speaking up for the first time, Senator Risa Ontiveros says she also believes the Senate should get to it. But Senator Amy Marcos, a known ally of the Vice President, believes that the impeachment trial can wait until after the elections.
Malinaw ang utos sa amin na once matransmit sa amin ang articles of impeachment tulad ng nangyari, ay agad po kaming mag-convene.
Hindi naman natin masasabi na urgent requiring the calling of a special session. Yun lang pakiwari kong personal. Parang hindi justified dahil hindi naman siya urgent.
Let's talk more about the petition against the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte.
Joining us now on the line is Attorney Israelito Torion. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, good morning, and good morning to all viewers and listeners of this popular station, ma'am.
All right, Attorney, let's get right to it. First of all, yung petition na final niyo po sa Supreme Court, are you doing that on your own volition po, or are you representing officially po yung kampo ni Vice President Sara Duterte?
Well, I am doing it in my own volition together with the other lawyers from Mindanao and concerned citizens as well as concerned bloggers po like Banat Bay, Coach Oli, and Boss Dada po. We have decided to collaborate in order to file this petition and possibly obtain a TRO and thereafter injunction and thereafter an order of prohibition from the Supreme Court stopping the trial in the Senate. Yes, sir.
You mentioned in one of your interviews that the articles of impeachment in these complaints are defective. Can you expand that to us po?
Well, it is really defective because I know the basis of the House of Representatives. They're basing it on the fact that they have 1/3 vote in accordance with Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 3 of the 1987 Constitution, and but our basis is that it should be struck as void, as it is constitutionally infirm and it is jurisdictionally void, and it suffers from inherent defects in the light of the fact that, number one, it did not take into consideration the fact that there were 3 priorly filed complaints against for impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. And if you read Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 2, there should have been outright actions on the part of the House of Representatives insofar as any of the first 3 complaints is concerned, because under Section 3, Paragraph 2, Article 11, the 1987 Constitution, once a verified complaint for impeachment is filed, the House of Representatives is mandated to include it in the order of business within 10 session days, and thereafter it should be included in the it should be referred to the proper committee within 3 days, 3 session days thereafter. And if you relate it with Rule 2, Section 3 of the House of Rules of Procedure on Impeachment, it is even imperative on the part of the Secretary General to refer it right away to the Secretary so that it will be included in the order of business within 10 session days. And the Secretary is mandated by their own rules to refer it to the Committee on Justice within 3 session days. These mandatory provisions were not followed in this case insofar as the 3 complaints is concerned. Second, even the House rules of the House of Representatives, Rule 2, Section 2, provides that even if you have 1/3 vote, their own rules provide that this should pass through the Committee on Justice, and the rules provide that the Committee on Justice would determine, in effect, whether or not it is sufficient in form and substance, and that they could not contradict this because it is provided in their own rules. And number 2, we likewise cited the fact that there is here a defective verification process. If you read the Constitution of the matter, if there is a 1/3 vote, it begins that in case the verified complaint is supported by at least 1/3 of the House of Representatives, trial in the Senate shall forthwith proceed. But the requirement is that there must be a verified complaint. And verification implies that you have personal knowledge of the fact that you have stated in the impeachment complaint, and you have assessed the evidences thereof, and you have seen on TV that on February 5, the congressman did not even know the subject matter of the House caucus, and they had only very limited time within which to read the complaint, much more assess the evidences attached in the complaint. So therefore, if you relate it with Rule 4, Section 14 of their own House rules, they even have the wordings of the verification that should be cited in the complaint. The wordings in the verification in Rule 4, Section 14 does not appear in the complaint as actually filed in the House of Representatives. And finally, the due process clause of the 1987 Constitution was not followed. Note that Vice President Duterte was not even informed of the actual complaint that was filed in the in the Senate. You might argue that there were investigations that were conducted in the past, but Vice President Duterte has already answered the same. But the actual complaint that was actually filed before the Senate, it is a fact that Vice President.
Okay. Attorney, are you still there? Can you hear us okay? Nawala ata si Attorney. Attorney?
Hello?
Yan. Can you hear us po?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay po.
Yes.
Yun nga po, no, sinabi ni Congressman Rog Gutierrez na expected naman daw po ito sa kampo ng mga supporters si VP Sara na mag-file ng ganitong petition sa Korte Suprema para na rin daw po talagang mas ma-interpret yung batas. Pero sa kanilang hanay, sinasabi nila, wala naman daw silang nilabag sa kanilang proseso. And in fact, prior to this impeachment complaint, yung una pa lang po yun 1 and 2, we had former Senator Laila de Lima on the show saying na, sinasabi niya po na, oo, may procedure na merong idadaan dapat sa Committee of Justice, pero meron ding proseso na kailangan nga daw po yung 1/3 of votes ng Kamara, which is hindi na kailangan idaan pa sa Committee on Justice.
Well, that is their contention. I respect their opinion. But if you read Section 3, Paragraph 4 of Article 11 of the 1987 Constitution, it clearly states, in case the verified complaint, resolution, or impeachment is filed by at least 1/3 of all the members of the House, which means that before you go to the phrase, the same shall constitute the articles of impeachment and trial by the Senate shall forthwith proceed, you have to comply with the requirement in case the verified complaint or resolution of impeachment is filed. So what is verification? You have to look into the rules of procedure of the House of Representatives, and Rule 4, Section 14 mandates a particular procedure that should be followed. And besides, Rule 2, Section 2 of House of Representatives mandates that even if you have 1/3 vote, it should first still be referred to the Committee on Justice. Are you saying that when they wrote and they crafted the House rules, they did not take all these into consideration and simply disregard it when there is already an impeachment complaint against a high official? Note that in Francisco versus House of Representatives, the Supreme Court was emphatic in saying that the impeachment process is a solemn process. It must follow the stringent fundamental rules and procedure, which must be stringently followed likewise, because you are impeaching an official who has been voted by 32,208,417 souls and individuals. And we have here a situation where only 215 congressmen who have rashly and in a blitzkrieg fashion filed this complaint without following their own rules, then we really have a problem, madam. And this problem should be resolved by the Supreme Court simply because of the fact that in Corona versus Senate, the Supreme Court did not have the chance at that time to rule on the merits of the case, and this is now the most opportune time to rule on this, because this is concerning a person who has been elected into office by 32,208,417 voters, whose votes are sacrosanct, sacred, and which must be protected by the law as well as the 1957 Constitution.
Yes,
Okay.
Attorney, para palinawin lang for our viewers, no? So are you saying in essence, before na transmit to for signature for the 200 plus congressmen, yes, dapat po dinaan ito sa Committee on Justice to ascertain yung substance and form? Is that what you're saying, Attorney?
Sa kanilang rules kasi, nakasaad na dun sa Rule 2, Section 2, pakibasa po ninyo, dapat daw dumaan sa Committee on Justice, sabi nila. Doon sa kanilang rules. Ngayon, hindi nila sinusunod. Ano yan? Kung hindi nyo sinusunod yung sariling rules nyo, ipafile ninyo at the last 30 seconds before the House session is adjourned or before the Senate session is adjourned. Then you are rushing things. You do not want any discussion on the matter. You have railroaded the process, which should have been considered as a solemn process, which should have followed stringent procedural rules. So what does that imply? It implies that you are rushing things so that it cannot be known to the people, and there will be no compliance with the due process clause.
Yes.
And the due process clause mandates that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. She was duly elected by the people, 32 million, and the process for her removal should have followed the stringent procedural rules mandated under the 1987 Constitution, but which have been altogether denied by the 250 Congress.
Well, Attorney, we understand
That's
that
my
part.
point.
Yeah, Attorney, we understand that part. I'd like to, as reference yung nangyari po kay President Joseph Estrada sa Congress. Do you think that this has similar instances? Yung kay pag-transmit ni Villar, Senate President, and then Speaker of the House Villar?
If I'm not mistaken, I think that matter passed the Committee on Justice. But even if it did not pass, you have to relate it with the House rules of the present Congress. The fact remains that in the present Congress, they provide us those rules. So they are mandated by law to follow the rules that they have set. So the fact that they did not follow it, if you base it likewise on Rule 2, Section 3 of their own House rules, the first 3 impeachment complaints should have been acted. They did not act on it. Because why? Because in Francisco versus House of Representatives, if the complaint is referred already to the Committee on Justice, the 1-year bar rule shall have operated. But in this case, hindi nila inaksyonan yun para hindi mag-operate yung 1-year bar rule. Makatarunganon ba yan? Hindi yun makatarunganon kung sa Binisaya pa. Why? Because what is good for the gander should likewise be good for the goose. And if they acted on any of the 3 complaints, yung 4th complaint, void na yon. Ang problema pa nito, yung 2nd complaint, si Representative Franz Castro, siya yung nag-endorse. Pero nung pumirma siya doon sa 4th complaint, no, hindi man lang yan dinisclose na meron ng prior complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. This is a violation on certification against non-forum shopping and violation likewise of the verification rules. No? So if we should be consistent. If we want the rule of law to prevail, then the rule of law should apply even if you hate the person, granting that you hate Vice President Sara Duterte.
Well, attorney, sinasabi kasi nila, consolidated na daw yung complaint na yun from complaint 1 and 2. Pero, attorney...
That's a new argument. That's a new argument. The end which cannot be considered simply because of the fact that it is nowhere stated in the petition that it consolidates the first 3 complaints. As a matter of fact, there are new matters which are stated in the 4th complaint. Like, for example, the threat to life to Vice President, threat to life to the President Marcos. It is stated in the first 3 complaints. It is nowhere there. That's baloney. I'm usually respectful, but when I'm seeing a lie, then I must say it also point blank.
Well, antayin natin, attorney, yung magiging aksyon ng Supreme Court dito. Pero gusto ko lang din po malaman, attorney, hindi lang po kayo, grupo po kayo na nag-file po nitong petition na to sa Korte Suprema.
Yes, 29 kami. 29
at nakita ko nga po dito,
Opo.
isa dito si former chair ng LTFRB, si Martin Delgra, and you have Acosta, councilor sa Davao. How did you come up with this team po? Paano nyo po ba napag-usapan itong gagawin po ninyo na ito?
Honestly, when I saw the impeachment complaint filed, I saw very glaring mistakes and I could not sleep at night. So I drafted the complaint. I first drafted the complaint together with my associates. I have many lawyers in the office led by my vice dean, Attorney Resty Rizada Nolasco, and we drafted the complaint and then we showed it to them. Okay, would you be willing to join me on this? And they have some suggestions. I revised it. So they were convinced. And 29 na. May mga political bloggers pa. May prominent lawyers pa in Butuan. May magsama sana mga taga Cebu, Dumaguete, Manila. Pero yung coordination sa pagpirma po, napakahirap yung verification requirement. Sabi ko sa kanila, mag-intervention na lang kayo. And may mag-intervene pa niyan, ma'am. Tingnan mo,
attorney,
mag-intervene pa.
Attorney, very quick na po. Sorry po, we don't have much time. Tanong ko lang po, I understand that you answered kanina that this is on your own volition, itong pag-file sa Korte Suprema.
Yes,
pero after this po ba, nagkausap kayo ni VP Sara or before filing
Wala
this?
po.
Meron po ba kayong pag-uusap
Wala
na sinabihan niyo po siya na
Wala po.
gagawin niyo po ito? Wala.
Hindi kami nagkausap ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Sana po magkausap kami, pero hindi kami nagkausap po.
Okay.
You can verify that. You can have all the CCTV work. Wala po kaming panahon magkausap po ni VP Sara po.
Well, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras and hopefully we can still invite you po para po matanong naman po tungkol kay Pastor Apollo Kibolay. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Attorney Israelito Tarriela.
Maraming salamat din.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat din po. Thank you.
Bilang Pilipino, bilang Pilipino.
Senator Bongo reacted to former President Rodrigo Duterte's controversial remark about killing senators. Go said he was not surprised, stressing that Duterte was simply joking. Meanwhile, PNP CIDG Chief Major General Nicolas Torre insisted that neither Malacanang nor the Senate ordered him to file complaints against former President Duterte. On Monday, Torre filed formal complaints against the former president for inciting sedition and unlawful utterances.
Alam natin yung na-joke talaga. Kahit ako, hindi na ako nagtataka dahil alam mo yung joke talaga.
I don't think that Malacanang should get involved in this dahil ito naman ay pure law enforcement. Hindi namin kailangan ng Senado, hindi namin kailangan ng Malacanang dito para ma-file ang kaso nito. I informed the chief that I'll be filing the cases and he said, go ahead, do your job. Trabaho ko to eh.
Expected naman yan kay Senator Bongo. I mean, when he was still under the cabinet of President Duterte and he would say things na medyo controversial, ang laging reply nila is...
The next day, always joke.
It's Visayan humor daw and it's a joke. Well, it might be the case, no, but it's very dangerous to say that you want, whether a joke or not, to kill 15 senators because of all the millions of followers of the former president. Baka may isa dyan na medyo gullible. For example, case in point, yung kay before when Trump was campaigning, di ba? They heard rhetorics from the other side. There was one gullible fanatic who took it into his own hands to try to assassinate then the candidate Trump.
And what's also disturbing, yung mga nabanggit ko rin to yesterday, yung crowd cheering also, patayin, di ba? So, I don't know with them.
Ito ba ang kultura na gusto ituro natin sa mga bata? We should also ask that question. But we understand what they're talking about, na that's his character. Hindi na tayo nasanay
Kumbaga,
tayo.
nasanay tayo dyan actually And the only difference lang now, may mga nagsispeak up.
Actually, noon kasi yung tail end ng presidency niya, when he was like that, hindi na tayo nagugulat. We were just used to it.
Yeah.
Honestly, we were just used to it. But this time around, we're under a different administration and they might not look highly upon these kind of remarks. All right, coming up. Congressman Rodante Marcoleta and Coast Guard spokesperson Tarriela figured in a heated exchange during a House hearing.
And the PCG condemns the dangerous maneuvers of a Chinese helicopter over Scarborough Shoal. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. A heated exchange took place between Representative Rodante Marcoleta and Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson Commodore Tarriela during the House Tri-Committee hearing on misinformation and disinformation. The dispute centered around the use of the term West Philippine Sea. Here's the report.
Ako'y binabas po ng, hindi naman po masyadong marami, ngunit dahil nga po dun sa pagkakasabi ko na there is no such thing as West Philippine Sea.
This was the opening statement of Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta during the Second House Tri-Committee hearing on misinformation and disinformation. On February 4, Marcoleta said that there is no such thing as West Philippine Sea because it is not recognized by the international community. His statement prompted responses from Tarriela as well as netizens.
I was called a traitor at yung statement ko raw is a disservice to the nation. It came from no less than the spokesman of the Philippine Coast Guard.
Let's put it on record. I did not use the word traitor in describing your statement that the West Philippine Sea ay kathang-isip lamang po. Let me read my post on X. I stand by the statement of President Bongbong Marcos.
Marcoleta asked Tarriela why he hadn't issued a statement clarifying that the traitor remark did not come from him.
Hindi ka man lang gumawa ng effort, for example, na I did not say that. Hindi mo lang sinasabi. But you know, people are bashing me. I am pro-China.
Again, Mr. Chair, I never said that you are a traitor. That is clearly posted on my Twitter
Pero
account.
hindi ka po nagbigay ng paliwanag na sinabi mo sana doon sa social media din Bakit nyo ina-ascribe sa akin na sinabi ko na traitor si Kong Marcoleta?
Tarriela insisted he is under no obligation to defend Marcoleta from online critics.
Why would I go to the extent of defending you and you are running for Senate? I might as well be interpreted as running for supporting somebody for public office. Why would I even defend you if you're calling me gago? As a commissioned officer of the Philippine Coast Guard, being a spokesperson, calling me mangmang.
In the end, Marcoleta stood firm on his position, asserting that the Filipino people's understanding of the term West Philippine Sea needs to be corrected.
Dapat nating i-educate ang ating mga kababayan. Yun ang pinagmulan nun. So it is not disservice. I do not deserve to be called a traitor just like that. Kasi ang gusto kong mangyari, lumitaw na mainformahan natin ng tao na sa ngayon hindi pa talaga naitatala officially yung West Philippine Sea.
Before the hearing, Tarriela emphasized that disregarding the term West Philippine Sea undermines the Philippine Coast Guard's efforts to protect the country's rights and sovereignty.
Well,
finally, nagkaharap na sila.
At si Commodore J. Tarriela man sumusunod lang sa utos and sa chain of command, which is the President of the Philippines, si Bongbong Marcos. And what's happening now is exactly what China wants to happen, to see discord and disagreements over
between us,
a national stance between kapwa Pilipino. You will not see that in China.
Yes.
If there is dissent, they are quiet about it. But generally,
they fix it among themselves.
the entire chain of command follows its orders. Makikita mo isa lang ang stance nila. Oo,
Kasi pwedeng gamitin yung yung pahayag ni Congressman Marcoleta about it, 'di ba?
Yeah,
yung unang hearing, pwedeng sabihin, even nga their congressman acknowledges na
He is a lawmaker. Granted,
diba?
ang sinasabi naman ni Congressman Marcoleta,
Technically,
he doesn't really mean na hindi atin. He just means the term, but it could be picked up kasi by agencies and it could be
mahilig pa naman sila mag-splice
and interpreted as such, or even he doesn't agree with his own government.
Even their lawmaker, one of their lawmakers, sasabihin gano'n, di ba? So, ingat-ingat lang din tayo on what. Tapos, ano pa tawag dito yung sinabi ni Commodore J. Tarriela about yung sinabi ni Congressman Marcoleta, yung may GAGO, may mangmang. It was said here kasi on our program when we interviewed Congressman Marcoleta, diba, about it. Kaya nga sabi ko are you referring to, or you talking about Commodore J. Tarriela? And
sabi niya, sino pa ba?
Naman, sino pa ba? Diba? Yun ang sinabi.
Sinight na Commodore J. Tarriela that on his Twitter, and he even read the report, that he did not say that directly that Congressman Marcoleta was a traitor. Rather, he was saying that he goes by what the President has ordered and is saying, and whoever does not believe in what the President is saying, then parang in essence, parang he didn't say the word traitor, parang ganun ang naka-imply, na traitor ka sa bayan. But he did not say he did not say Congressman
Totoo
Marcoleta.
yan. So tapos na yan, di ba? Finally, nagkaharap na sila, tapusin na nila and move on na. Diba?
Kasi hindi maganda, hindi maganda tignan sa optics natin.
Oo, diba? Okay, alright. In other news,
Bilang Pilipino, bilang Pilipino.
the administration-backed Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas held a campaign rally in Pasay City on Tuesday. Before delivering his speech, President Bongbong Marcos jokingly counted the administration's senatorial lineup.
Pagbigyan niyo po ako at binibilang ko lang yung aming mga kandidato dahil tinitiyak ko na kumpleto at wala pang napasabugan ng granada. Wala po kayong maririnig na masasamang salita. Wala po kayong maririnig na panakot. Wala po kayong maririnig ng pagmumura.
This comes after former President Rodrigo Duterte made a controversial remark about killing 15 senators to help his allies secure Senate seats. Other candidates also weighed in on the issue. Benhur Abalos said he refuses to be affected by negative campaigning, while Ping Lacson urged everyone to help de-escalate tensions rather than fuel political conflict.
Tumulong na lang tayo mag-de-escalate, sa halit na mag-escalate, kasi walang idudulot na maganda ito sa ating mga kababayan, lalo na sa mga pangkaraniwang Pilipino.
Meanwhile, senatorial candidate Franz Castro shrugs off allegations of being a member of the New People's Army. In an interview with 1PHS sa Totoo Lang, Castro admitted that she had been an activist because she is fighting for genuine change. She added that people should instead focus on her track record in governance.
Kasi parang kung sino man yung nagsasalita na pumupuna sa gobyerno, parang kinoconsider na agad dyan na rebelde o lahat nga ng mga ipinasa nating mga panukalang batas ay nakatulong talaga sa aking constituents. So, yun yung ano naman doon, yung masasagot ko dyan, yung aking track record at ano yung naging, hindi rin ako involved sa mga graft and corruption.
Castro also clarified that her child abuse case is still pending in the Court of Appeals. She insisted that she rescued the children and that the issue was only politicized.
Kung nga talagang tinaya ko yung buhay doon para ma-rescue yung mga bata na estudyante. Along the way nga, binaril pa nga kami, yung aming van. Kaya yun yung tunay na pangyayari. Sana nating nakita rin at sana ma-review ng Court of Appeals yung dahilan bakit yung mga bata at mga estudyante ay napilitang magpa-rescue o napilitang umalis dun sa lugar sa ganung oras.
I remember that when she supposedly took the children and transported them, ang sinasabi ng isang panig na pinilit daw kunin yung mga bata. But then some of the people from the school said silang nagpakuha.
Silang humingi nga sila ng tulong.
Because they were scared already, natatakot sila. And they went there and they helped them on their own volition. Pero bago pa man makapagsabi.
Pero the court decided
bago pa man makapagsabi kasi sila Rep. Franz Castro na ano yung nangyayari, lumabas na kasi yung issue na kinuha ang mga bata. Yung pala parang kinuha lang, tinago ng sandali dahil natatakot yung mga bata.
So pending pa rin naman yung kanyang kaso sa Court of Appeals kasi nagkaroon ng desisyon So that's why nagkaroon sila ng appeal doon sa Korte Suprema.
Yes.
So yun, isa yan kasi sa binibira sa kanya 'di ba? Dahil alam naman natin how active Representative Franz Castro is and 'di ba doon sa mga mali na nangyayari. Nakikita niya na para sa kanya ay mali na nangyayari sa gobyerno.
We all know sa last administration ni Pangulong former President Duterte, a lot of the progressive groups, yung Bayan and yung grupo nila Franz Castro, Makabayan Bloc were tagged as communist or NPAs by then President Rodrigo Duterte. And this has been disputed time and again that hindi sila NPA, rather inamin nila na lumalaban sila because they have a different way of thinking as against kung ano yung iniisip ng presidente.
Yung meron silang sa tingin nila tama.
Separate ideology from that of the government.
But going back doon naman sa campaign rally nila PBBM para doon sa Alyansa ng Bagong Pilipinas, di ba natawa nga tayo doon sa nag-joke siya, nagbibilang. So yun nga, sabi ko nga din yesterday, I wish we could talk about more about the solutions na kailangan natin dito sa Pilipinas instead yung mga bangayan nila na ganyan. Diba? Kasi
what was I don't know kung kakatawa, but itong dalawang kampo na nagbabangayan, sila ang nangaaway at that time sa pink wave ni then Vice President Leni Robredo na tumatakbo for president. They were ganging up on the Vice President then and they were together as a unit team.
Yes.
Ngayon, sila nagbabangayan.
Yan yung promise nila nung tumakbo sila.
Sila nagbabangayan and now you see the other camp which is sila Leni, sila Kiko, sila Bam. They're just quiet on the other side. So parang what is happening to this political landscape na parang nag-iiba na. Yeah. Anyway, in other news, for the second time, vloggers invited to the House inquiry on disinformation and fake news skipped the hearing. Some of them cited in their letters the petition for certiorari on the hearing that has been filed before the Supreme Court. This prompted panel member Congressman Stephen Paduano to move to issue subpoenas against them. These include former Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles and influencers like Crisette Laureta Chu, Sas Rogando Sasot, and Mark Anthony Lopez. Also failing to heed the House panel's invitation were representatives from Meta and ByteDance, the parent companies of Facebook and TikTok.
There's a motion to issue subpoena to all those mentioned by the Honorable Paduano for not attending and answering the show cause order issued by the three committees. Duly seconded. Do I hear any objection from the members? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
So likewise, in the same manner, then I would like to amend my motion, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that the show cause order be issued to ByteDance Philippines or the invitee here po, no? Sa email to, and to Facebook Philippines, Mr. Chair.
Second. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
For context, kasi naka-receive ng letter ang TRICOM from White and Case on behalf of Meta. Yan yung parent office ng Meta dito. O saying na yung Meta cannot be invited sa, yung Facebook page natin dito cannot be invited kasi nga this is an international company. So sinasabi ng like si Congressman Rog Gutierrez na bakit naman yung Alphabet at saka yung Google, they were there yesterday, 'di ba? They are also international
parang
companies.
sinasite ata ng Meta kasi
walang jurisdiction
over them.
Hindi pwedeng imbitahan.
We're not they're not being called in naman para akusahan sila. They're being called in as a reference to help us craft a law to help them kasi
Anong magandang guidelines yung pwede natin
kasi the burden of regulation is now with Meta and ByteDance kasi with regards to how they control the influencers. So parang
lalo pa sa Meta ngayon, 'di ba, they removed yung fact-checking nila option.
So now, parang ang gusto lang gawin natin is let's have our own set of laws here na that will hopefully parang put an end to this issue altogether.
So that's the excuse of sa Meta. Yung ByteDance naman, sabi nila meron silang engagement sa Singapore, which is I don't know.
Wala silang lawyer ba na pwede ipadala dito? On the other hand naman, yung mga ibang influencers are saying na how did this committee come up with the list daw na bakit predominantly puro DDS?
Critical of the government.
Puro DDS. Davao tuloy. Si Duterte, diehard supporters. So, that's their claim. That's their claim. But there were others naman who were invited as well na hindi rin naman nakapunta. Or may mga iba pa nga ng ibang supporters na nakapunta din. So, yun ang contention. Ang sinasabi lang ng iba, sana hinintay na lang nitong mga nag-file sa Supreme Court na pumunta muna sila sa hearing, and if they're feeling nila sinusuppress sila sa hearing, curtail nila yung freedom saka magreklamo, wala pang nagsisimula, sabi nila, bakit ka nag-file ka agad?
So ngayon, ang kanilang excuse bakit on the second time hindi sila umattend, meron kasi silang petition for certiorari sa Supreme Court kasi nga dahil nga dito sa naging basihan ng TRICOM ng pagpapaimbita sa kanila.
Gusto natin makita.
So what happens now?
What happens now habang wala pang ruling ang Supreme Court on the issue at biglang magkaroon ng contempt order na with a warrant of arrest.
Ngayon kasi ang nangyayari, wala pang contempt order pero may pasubpina.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pero pag umabot sa punto na nagkaroon ng contempt order at kailangan i-detain sila, 'di ba? Wala pang pending ruling. Let's see how this happens.
Yes.
So matetest natin yung waters on this issue.
So we're trying to get in touch with Congressman Ace Barbers para malaman natin
to get clarity.
Tsaka ano ba nangyari dun sa naging hearing nila yesterday?
Yeah, sino yung
meron ba tayong mga information that we need to know?
All right, don't go away. We're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Kaliwat kanan ang mga mukha ng kandidato sa mga pader at poste ngayong election na season, election season. Dahil po dyan, tiba-tiba na naman ngayon ang mga printing shop. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal Ivan Darinque.
Eleksyon na naman, kaya tantad na ng campaign material sa maraming lugar. Sa ganitong panahon din, tiba-tiba ang mga printing shops.
Hindi na magkandaw-gaga ang mga empleyado sa printing shop na ito sa Recto, Manila. Lahat sila may sariling gawain mula sa pag-layout, printing at hanggang sa paggupit. Doble kayod sila dahil sa bulto-bultong order ng mga election poster ng mga kandidato para sa darating na midterm election. Extra effort man sila ngayon, ayos lang dahil ang kinikita nila tumaas din kumpara sa karaniwang araw.
101%. Layo po, sir. Napakalayo po ang agwat. Lalo pag mga February, March, yan. Yan yung talagang simple.
30 pesos ang singil nila sa isang 2x3 size poster. At kada araw, umaabot sa mahigit kumulang 1,000 election poster ang kanilang napoproduce.
Ito yung dalawa sa tatlong tarpaulin printing machine na siyam na oras na nag-ooperate na kaya mag-produce ng nasa 1,000 2x3 feet ng mga tarpaulin.
Ito ang tamang sukat ng naayon sa guidelines ng COMELEC na sinusunod naman ng mga printing shop dahil naman sa dami ng order. First come, first serve ang sistema. Ito'y para maiwasan ang gulo at masigurong maayos ang daloy ng kanilang trabaho.
Tatapusin namin yung nauna. Mahirap kasi po yung yung isisingit mo yung bago. Siyempre, magagalit po yung nauna.
Ayon sa Republic Act No. 7166, Section 13, may spending limit ang mga kandidato. 3 piso kada isang registered voter ang budget para sa may political party, habang 5 piso naman para sa mga independent at party list group.
Hindi may kakailangang tulong ng mga election posters para mabigyan ng muka at makilala ang mga kandidato. Pero higit sa papugian at pagandahan ng kanilang retrato, dapat mas alamin ang track record ng ihahalal natin sa pwesto. Mobile Journal, Ivan Taringki po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Alam ko yung hinaing ni Chairman George, 3 piso kada voter sa kandidato. Isang poster na sa piniprint nila, lampas 3 piso isang piraso na yan.
Yes, oo. 3 piso pa yan para sa may, may political party.
Napaka-outdated na ng ano. Anyway, in other news, the Philippine Coast Guard condemned the dangerous maneuvers of a People's Liberation Army Navy helicopter over Scarborough Shoal on Tuesday. In a post on X, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tarriela, said the helicopter flew as close as 3 meters to a Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources aircraft. The BFAR aircraft was conducting a maritime domain awareness flight when the incident occurred. Tarriela called the maneuver a clear violation and blatant disregard of international aviation rules, warning that such reckless actions pose a serious risk to the pilots and passengers aboard the BFAR aircraft.
Yun. Parang dumating pa daw sa point na parang nagkaroon ng virtual hide and seek. Sabi, kasi meron palang ibang mga journalists na on board doon sa BFAR. So, nung parang nawawala yung ang tawag dito, nawawala yung helicopter ng PLA, biglang nagpakita daw sa port side ng BFAR's plane. Tapos nagulat na lang sila, napasigaw pa nga daw yung isang journalist
3
doon.
meters? So,
Yes, palapit ng palapit. So, nag-radio challenge sila, tapos nag-radio challenge din 19 times ang BFAR, saying na, hello, dito sa atin. Alright, sige, balikan pala natin.
Fake news.
About the hearing ng fake news sa TRICOM sa House of Representatives. We have on the line, Surigao del Norte 2nd District Representative Ace Barbers joining us today. Good morning. Good morning, Kong.
Good morning, good morning, Angela and Diego. Magandang umaga rin po sa ating mga kababayan.
Yes, Congressman, thank you for joining us. So let's get right to it po. Yung, of course, yung second hearing nyo, yung mga nag-file ng petition sa Supreme Court, hindi na naman po pumunta. Ang sinasabi kasi ng iba, paano nyo daw ginawa po kung ang listahan? Puro daw Duterte supporters daw ang inibitan nyo.
Critical of the government.
Hindi, actually, yun nga ang kanilang laging sinasabi na bakit yung mga Duterte supporters lang inimbitahan, meron daw kaming trap na gagawin because once dumating sila ay i-detain namin na marami silang kwento But the fact remains that the reason why we invited them, because they are social media actors or bloggers, no? And they can contribute in the objective of the TRI committee.
Yes.
And what is this objective? Number one, of course, magkaroon ng regulatory policy in the use of social media platforms sa ating bansa. That's number one, no? Number two, to establish a sort of a code of conduct or code of ethics among practitioners in this new industry, in social media, no?
Yes,
number three,
sorry, go ahead.
Siyempre, number three, magkaroon ng accountability. Dahil hindi naman pwedeng makakapanirang puri ka, you can destroy, besmirch, or smear someone's reputation without being accountable to that. So these are the things that we want to establish in the use of social media in the country.
Okay. Kung ano na po ba yung magiging plano natin kapag hindi pa rin po dumating itong mga social media influencers na to sa susunod na hearing? Kasi I understand may pinasupina po sila. And one of the reasons or major reasons, meron daw po silang petition for certiorari sa Supreme Court.
Tama, no? And we respect that, no? Dahil karapatan naman nilang umakyat sa korte at mag-seek ng redress doon kung they feel that they are being aggrieved, no? Pero sa punto naman ng rules ng ating kongreso, sinasabi doon that once you violate the rule, merong rason o basisyan para i-cite ka in contempt. Kapag ikaw naman ay na-contempt, meron pong mga penalties na pwedeng i-impose. Now, ano ba yung ma-violate na rule? No? Ito pong invitation na ito, 2 beses pinadala sa kanila, sila hindi sumipot. Itong ang pangatlo ay nag-issue na ng meron ng subpoena ad testificandum for them to appear before the committee in the next scheduled committee hearing.
Yes, Kong, I'd like to talk about a little po yung growing concern over yung misinformation and disinformation. No? You mentioned the word kanina, practitioners sa loob ng sphere ng social media. By definition po kasi sa TV, meron tayong journalists, news anchors, tsaka mga radio broadcasters. Pero by definition, who do you consider a practitioner po sa sphere ng social media? Is it based on the number of followers?
That is what we want to establish. No? Kasi nga, kahapon may nag-propose na isang vlogger din, sinasabi niya, dapat magrehistro yung mga social media actors na yan, no? Yung mga sinasabing vloggers, no? Para makilala natin, hindi sila pwedeng magtago under a pseudonym, no?
Yeah.
Hindi naman silang pwedeng naninirang puri, pero ang totoong pangalan nila ay hindi nila ine-expose. No? Parang merong kaya nga ang real objective of the committee is to establish this regulatory policy. Diba? Kaya nga kung napag-usapan na kailangan mag-rehistro yan, kukuha ng driver's license, kailangan naman ibang gamitin mo, di ba? Alam kung saan ka nagpira. Kasi dahil may address mo.
Yes.
Diba? All these things are just regulatory that we know they are all legitimate, no? They are all using these platforms to educate the public, talk about public interest, and not besmirch or smear anyone. Now, if they decide to become followers of a certain politician, they can do so. Hindi naman natin pipigilan yun dahil karapatan nila yan. No less than the Constitution guarantees, no, the freedom of speech and expression, and we will respect that. Wala kaming plano, wala kaming layunin na kitilin yung malayang pagpapahayag ng bawat sinuman o bawat Pilipino dito sa ating bansa. And we will strike a balance.
Okay. Kong, what have we gotten so far po after po ng 2 hearings natin sa TRICOM? And are we planning to invite more personalities? Meron po ba kayong nasa isip na iba pang known personalities na may invite? And do we have a timeline on this? Kong? Kong, papihit lang po ng konti, medyo nawawala po kayo. Kong?
Hello?
Yes, yan. Yan po, Kong. Go ahead po.
Yeah. As the timeline is concerned, we're hoping na matapos ito bago mag-adjourn sinidie ang kongresong ito, yung 19th Congress. Pero kung hindi naman po ito aabot, we are hoping also that in the next Congress, yung 20th Congress, the committee will still file whatever proposed legislation that we wish to come up in this particular TRICOM hearing.
Yes, and alam ko yung gipit kayo sa oras, Kong, no? Pero ang sinasabi ng iba, very critical daw ang participation ng Metan dito tsaka ng ByteDance. No? If they continue po not to attend the hearings, ano po ang gagawin natin, Kong?
Sabi ko, importante nila dahil sila yung platform na ginagamit they have to cooperate with the government. Dapat siguro gumawa tayong batas na kumuha sila ng franchise sa ating gobyerno. Kaya ng pagkuha ng legislation ng franchise sa national government.
Linawin ko lang po, no, medyo nawawala po kasi kayo, Kong, to be able to hold platforms accountable ay meron po kayo naiisip na gawa na lang po ng batas na kumuha sila ng franchise dito sa atin. Tama po?
Na pinapanukala ng mga kasamahan ko at ako, no? Hindi naman po majority ito sa ngayon, pinag-aaralan pa po.
Yes. When is the next hearing po?
We will have to determine kasi yung tatlong chairman ng tatlong committee ang mag-schedule niyan.
Alright, sige. Maraming salamat. Medyo nawawala si Kong eh. Okay, maraming salamat po Kong. Hopefully we can still invite you again probably this week pa rin para po mas mapag-usapan po natin itong issue na ito and other issues. Maraming salamat po Congressman Ace Barbers if you can still hear us.
Sayang malabo yung linya.
Malabo eh.
Pero maganda yung sinasabi ni Kong about yung importance of the participation of the major platforms. Interesting yung sinabi niya about taking a look at the franchise for Facebook.
Kasi diba, I was gonna ask nga, how are you going to hold these social media platforms accountable? Diba? Iniisip na lang daw
actually,
nila, baka daw
pinupuntirya nga ni
pero maraming magagalit dyan. Go ahead.
Anyway, yung pinupuntirya ni Congressman Barbers na accountability ng mga influencers na using pseudonyms kasi naninira sila and they're not using their names. Pwede mo isabihin kasi yung accountable din dyan, yung Meta, because in order to have an account, a verified account, you need to have an ID ready that matches your name. Yung ID mo and your name matches. Alam ko yan, pinagdaanan ako yan eh. And then you'll have to take a picture pa, you holding your ID. So the mere fact na tumanggap ang Facebook ng pseudonyms at na-verify yung account means may problema sa rules nila. So we'd like to see further how this is tackled in the next coming hearings. But in the meantime, since we're running out of time, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote, hopefully to give you a little comfort with all the conflict that's happening sa eleksyon sa West Philippine Sea. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Rather, it is the ability to handle conflict by peace. Anonymous.
Yun.
And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angelo Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One You.
All sides, all the time.